This week, as the AFC West gets a little tougher on Friday night, as the Las Vegas Raiders add a veteran quarterback via trade with Seattle. Geno Smith heads south in exchange for a third-round pick. Obviously, the headline is that he reunites with Pete Carroll, with whom his sort of career renaissance took place when they were together in Seattle. The Raiders haven't gotten much production from the quarterback position since Derek Carr moved on a couple of seasons ago. They've been bottom 5 in total QBR, touchdown to interception ratio, 20-yard completions. They remain in search of their first AFC West title, amazingly enough, since 2002. Adam Schefter joins me now. Adam, I'm sitting here on a Friday night, minding my own business, having dinner with the fam. All of a sudden, the phone starts going goofy because you're out there breaking news. They say, we got to talk to Adam about Geno Smith. I said, what happened to Geno Smith? Oh, he plays for the Raiders. How'd that happen? So what do you got for me here? How'd this come together?
Well, Scott, let's give you the backstory of how this did come together. Essentially, the Seahawks had sat down to try to do an extension with Geno Smith, who had 1 year remaining on his contract. They were not able to make any progress towards a new deal. And I think Geno wasn't particularly thrilled with the way contract talks had went. And when they stalled and went backwards, lo and behold, his former head coach, Pete Carroll, comes out of the woodworks from Las Vegas and approaches Seattle about trying to get a trade done for Geno Smith. And after recognizing that they were not going to be able to bridge their differences with Geno Smith on a new contract, the Seahawks ultimately opted to trade a 35-year-old two-time Pro Bowl quarterback for a third-round draft pick. If Geno Smith liked what Seattle was offering, if the two sides were able to bridge their differences, this trade would not have happened. Geno Smith would be in Seattle. That was their ultimately leading choice to be the starting quarterback, but we had a quarterback who wasn't happy with the progression of these contract talks that ultimately led with him being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders.
There's the football piece. I mean, they had an O-line issues that were obvious last year, but it's interesting. He was trying to get it done there, but it doesn't happen. And I think, Adam, we all understand that there's the Pete Carroll connection, but because Brady's got this involvement with the Raiders, we look at that lens and wonder, is there involvement from his perspective, or is that just completely irrelevant to this conversation because it's a Pete Carroll, Geno Smith thing?
Well, I think Tom Brady ultimately has to sign off on this, Scott, and be on board with the acquisition of Geno Smith. But let's be honest here. When Pete Carroll becomes the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Pete Carroll is the one driving the acquisition of Geno Smith. You need the support of Tom Brady, who has to sign off on it. But if the Las Vegas Raiders had hired Ben Johnson or Kellen Moore or Liam Cohn as their head coach, I feel quite confident in saying that Geno Smith would not be the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders today, that he would still be in Seattle. But because of the connections in Seattle between Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, with the Raiders needing a quarterback, the Raiders opted to fill their opening with a trade for Geno Smith, which, of course, has all types of ramifications on the rest of the quarterback carousel.
Right, notably Seattle, who now needs one, right? There's company in that room of people looking around saying, who's our guy? Now Seattle's in that mix. Is there a sense of what that market looks like, just as a final thought, Adam?
Well, yeah, Scott, the first guy you're looking at is Sam Darnold.
Of course.
The Seahawks' new offensive coordinator is Clint Kubiak. Who did Clint Kubiak work with in San Francisco? Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is out there. I think Pittsburgh is expected to have interest. The Giants are expected to have interest. But lo and behold, Seattle suddenly has an opening, and they cleared out Geno Smith's salary, and they have a coach that used to work with Sam Darnold. So clearly, Seattle is going to make a run here at Sam Darnold in the coming days to see if they can convince him to become a Seattle Seahawk.
There really is no offseason in this league. It's remarkable. There's been all kinds of news this week, and then we get free agency next week. Adam, you're a busy man. I appreciate you making some time on a Friday evening.
Logan Ryan. And Logan, you know Geno Smith very well, played against him in college. You had your first career pick 6 against him in 2013. You had a nice celebration. So I know you know Geno Smith well. What do you think of this move for the Raiders acquiring him late in his career?
Well, it shows you that Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, and the Raiders are serious. And the most important position in football, obviously, is the quarterback. And it's an arms race for quarterback this year, especially, I feel like. And we know that the Raiders were all in on Matt Stafford. They really wanted to go for Matt Stafford. Brady wanted Matt Stafford, and they didn't get him. Matt Stafford goes back to L.A. I think that was the right choice for Matt Stafford. And this shows that, one, Geno's back with Pete Carroll, and he's had success there. I played Geno since his West Virginia days. He was unbelievable in college. Not a great quarterback for the Jets, but who has been a great quarterback for the Jets? That's more of a Jets problem than a Geno problem. But you kind of see this resurgence. We don't write him off too quickly, he says. With the Seahawks, they're a great passer rating, a winning record, and a lot of pass yards. So I think that the Raiders are going to try to compete this season. They're trying to bring in, and they know Brady knows it starts with that quarterback position. We thought they would make a move in the draft. Shedeur Sanders, people thought, will go to the Raiders. Well, they might have been too high on Shedeur Sanders to make this move. They like Geno better than Shedeur, obviously, because they're going with this one.
Yeah, right now Ryan Wilson has Shedeur Sanders going to the Vegas Raiders. Could you see a scenario, though, where Geno is the quarterback for a bridge year, where you bring in a young quarterback here in 2025 and Geno Smith shows that player the ropes before they hand him the keys to that kingdom?
That could potentially be. I don't want to write anything off, but that doesn't make sense. If you have a top 6 pick and you got a guy in Geno who could still play at a high level, he's shown that not far away from the Pro Bowl, back with Pete Carroll, who obviously loves him. I think Tom Brady and Pete Carroll are trying to win this year. I don't know about a bridge year to the next quarterback, and I think Geno might sign a deal there with the Raiders, man. Maybe another 2, 3, 4-year deal there with the Raiders. I think they use that pick. They can trade it if somebody wants to get Shedeur at that number, or they can go draft best available. You know, whoever the best available player is. But I think this is the first step to show Raiders fans that they're going to try to win some games this year. They got to fix the quarterback position. They haven't had one since they moved to Vegas. Now they got one.
Yeah, Vegas looking to get back into the playoff mix. Haven't been there in quite some time. When you look at this deal in terms of where it leaves the Seahawks, where does this leave the Seahawks? They're already dealing with DK Metcalf, who requested a trade.
Man, I know Jackson Smith and Jigba tweeted out earlier he wasn't too happy after Lockett was released and DK wants a trade. Now you lost your quarterback. So I don't know where this leaves Seattle. Seattle must clearly be linked to a free agent. Maybe that's Sam Darnold. Maybe that's, I doubt, a Russell Wilson reunion, Justin Fields. But there's something they clearly see that they have to have in their plan. They don't have a high enough draft pick to go get one of the quarterbacks. We're not thinking that this is a great quarterback draft anyway, outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur. So I don't know what Seattle's thinking here. A 3rd-round pick. You lose your franchise quarterback for a 3rd-round pick. They obviously didn't trust Geno to extend him there. They thought the time was up. But I think you got to look at Sam Darnold or this free agency market because they need a quarterback there. Half your receivers won out anyway. So if you're a Seahawks,